Hey guys, Moana's coming out today, and so let's celebrate Disney's new release on this Whenever Wednesdays by going over 5 Disney movies that you probably haven't seen that you should. So the first movie I have for you is Pete's Dragon. Now I'm not talking about the Pete's Dragon that came out this past spring or this past summer. I'm talking about the Pete's Dragon that came out in 1977. This movie doesn't have a fluffy dragon that's big and scary and lives in the woods and is helping the recently orphaned boy go through the woods. No. I'm talking about the Pete's Dragon, the original, the great musical. In this movie, it follows Pete, who is escaping from his adopted family, and he's running away from them because they're pretty much using him as a slave. And so him and Elliot are running away. Now Elliot, if you don't know, is Pete's dragon. And Elliot, unlike the movie, who's just kind of protecting him, in the original movie, Elliot's more like a Mary Poppins kind of being. He goes to those in need. So throughout this movie, he's with Pete and he's helping him through this movie. And it's a really great story. He escapes from the hillbilly family that adopted him, and he goes into this town. You know, Elliot destroys some stuff because he's a clumsy dragon, and he meets this lady who, her and her dad own a lighthouse, and there's a great story with them and how the lady is waiting for her husband to return from sea because he got lost at sea, and she's just waiting for that, and that's why she helps with the lighthouse so he can find his way home. And then Pete tries to live a normal life, you know, in this town, because now he's kind of adopted, but not, you know, officially with this lady and her dad in the lighthouse. And so he's trying to live a normal life, you know, going through school and, you know, stuff like that. But Elliot keeps coming in and destroying things, and it makes him look bad, and it's really great because, you know, if you've seen the previous Pete's Dragon or the new Pete's Dragon, you know that Elliot can turn invisible. So he's just like destroying the town, and you know, just great visual effects throughout the entire movie. Great songs. You know, Candle in the Water was actually nominated for an Academy Award for Best Song, and so great music. Go do that one. Watch that one. 10 out of 10 movie. Pete's Dragon. Fantastic. Now for the next movie, let me explain it a little bit before I even get to it. If you've been to Disneyland or Disney World, most likely you've been on the ride Splash Mountain. Now to you, Splash Mountain might be, oh, just a lovely ride with some rabbit running away from home and going on an adventure, but gets caught up in some issues and problems with a fox and a bear. You know, great story, great songs. But did you know that ride actually came from a movie? And yes, that's the movie I'm going to be talking to you about, Song of the South. Song of the South came out in 1946. Song of the South is about this boy and his mother go to a farmhouse out in the South, and of course, you know, there's slavery because it's set in that time, and actually slavery got this film into, you know, a big trouble with some race issues. So, but we're not going over that. This movie's still fantastic. It's as he's going about this, you know, new environment for him, he runs into this slave. And the slave starts telling these stories about Brer Rabbit and how pretty much the ride of Splash Mountain. And so as he goes through the story, the slave character uses these stories to help, you know, guide him and, you know, teach him some important things. And it's just a 10 out of 10 movie. Really suggest that one. And actually, Zippity Doo-Dah, which, you know, you've heard if you've ridden the ride, actually won an Academy Award for Best Song in 1946. So I would highly suggest that one. Song of the South, yeah. The next movie I'm going to suggest to you guys is actually, surprisingly, the only animated movie on this list. And this movie is actually The Black Cauldron. Black Cauldron came out in 1985, and let me build it up some. Let me get you excited for it. This movie is directed by the same directors that directed Fox and the Hound. This movie, you know, was the first Disney movie to get a PG rating. Yeah, pretty serious stuff there. And it also was the first Disney movie to actually use computer-generated imagery, which that's pretty cool. Pretty historic movie, and you haven't seen it. Why not? Go see it. Well, what The Black Cauldron is, it's set in the Dark Ages, and there's this evil king, the Horned King, and he's, you know, an evil ruler doing some bad things, and he gets this Black Cauldron, and apparently this Black Cauldron will give him the ability to pretty much destroy the world or something along those lines. It's a big weapon. And so it follows this boy named Talon or Taran, something with a T and ends with an N. But it follows this boy, and he's actually like an apprentice to this wizard. And so this wizard is trying to do stuff and look into the Black Cauldron to help the forces kind of defeat him. And he tells the future with this pig. And so at the beginning of the movie, the wizard has the apprentice take the pig out for some water, and the pig ends up escaping. Oh no, what is he gonna do? So he chases after the pig, and he ends up chasing it into the Horned King's lair, and he runs into this princess, and he saves the princess, and then they run into, you know, this like creature thing, and he's like messing with them, but he's like doing his best to help them out, and then they run into this bard who plays some music and stuff, and they go on this adventure to save the kingdom and defeat the Horned King, and it's just really, really good. I rate it 10 out of 10, like all movies I suggest to you guys, but you know, it's kind of dark. That's why it actually got a PG rating, even though most animated movies are getting PG now instead of just G. But really good movie, really good story, so I suggest The Black Cauldron. So the next movie I'm going to suggest to you guys is called Knobs Broomsticks. Knobs Broomsticks. It's a tongue twister. The tongue twister came out in 1971, and this movie kind of gets swept under the rug because it's very similar to Mary Poppins. But don't let that discourage you. This movie's on the list for a reason. It's because it's good. And what this movie's about is it's set in London during World War II. And so it follows this boy and this girl. They got shipped away from their home during, you know, the Blitzkriegs and the bombings of London, and they get shipped away into the country, and they're given to this lady to take care of. Now the lady, she doesn't really want them, so she's like, you know, I'll take them until you find them a better place, you know, but I'm gonna have to pass taking care of them. And so the kids are like, you know, I don't want to be here either, I'm just gonna run home. So that's what they do. For some reason the kid grabs a bed knob off the bed. Now if you're visited your grandma's house recently, she's probably got some bed knobs. I know mine does. So he takes that with them for some reason. They're running, and then as they're leaving, they run into the lady. I think her name is Miss Price. She's like riding a broomstick, or trying to at least. And so they're like, "Witch," and she's like, "Hey, homie, how about this? I'll let you guys go home. I'll give you a teleportation spell or a transportation spell on that there bed knob, and I'll let you go back to London with that there bed knob, and then in return you just keep your mouth shut about me." And so they, you know, agree, but I'm gonna quickly say that she's trying to become a witch to help the British in the war against Germany and the Axis powers. So that's why she's doing the witch stuff. She's just not like weird. Yeah, so. But as she's ready to transport them away, they get news that the school that's teaching her out about wizardry is closing down, so she won't be able to learn the last spell she needs to help. And so she's like, okay kids, let's use that there bed knob and head on over to London and go to the school and get my spell. And then they run into, strangely enough, the same actor who played the dad in Mary Poppins. It's in this movie, and same mustache, same. So another similarity between Mary Poppins. But then he's the teacher, but he's like, oh, I didn't know this magic actually worked. I was, you know, magic actually worked. He was just scamming people. But he's like, wow, that's amazing, I'll help you. And so then they track down this other guy, and then they go into like the animated world, kind of like they do in Mary Poppins, except they don't, you know, obviously don't jump into a painting. I think they jump into a storybook, if anything. Because, like, it's a long story. It'll be better if you just go ahead and watch it. Fantastic movie, Knobs Broomsticks, another, you know, great songs. Oh, the songs. Another reason why this movie is so good is the songs. Now, the songs were written by the Sherman Brothers. Now, if you don't know the Sherman Brothers, you can't really call yourself a Disney fan, because every Disney fan should know about the Sherman Brothers. And the Sherman Brothers have done movies including Mary Poppins, The Sword and the Stone, Winnie the Pooh, The Jungle Book, The Aristocrats. All these great movies came from these two brothers. Now these Sherman brothers, these two brothers, they made a lot of songs. They worked closely with Walt. You know, you've seen them if you've seen the movie Saving Mr. Banks. He's in that, or they're in that movie, you know, because they wrote the songs. I'm doing the air quotes because, you know, they're not in it, but they're portrayed in the movie. So they wrote a lot of great music for Disney, and so that's just another thing. I'm just giving credit to them for the great music. Definitely go check out that song, that movie which has those songs. 10 out of 10. Now the last movie I'm going to suggest to you guys is actually, trick question, not a Disney movie. Now Tyler, why are you putting a Disney movie, not a Disney movie on a 5 Disney movies I need to watch? Well, let me explain. First off, it's got the feel of a Disney movie. It just feels like it. And by Disney movie, it's live action, so I'm talking about Mary Poppins, I'm talking about, you know, Knobs Broomsticks, you know, all those good movies. So it's got the feel, it's got the heart, it's got the story, it's got the, you know, the heartstrings, everything you really want in a good Disney movie, it's got it. And another thing that kind of relates to Mary Poppins is the lead actor is Dick Van Dyke. You know, Bert from Mary Poppins. So that helps. And another thing that helps greatly is the music. The music is actually done, just like the other movie, by the Sherman Brothers. Now, yeah, so the Sherman Brothers made this movie after they were done working for Disney. And so it's got great music, and the music really ties in with all the classic Disney movies. So that's why another feel like just feels like a Disney movie. So this is why I'm suggesting that one to you. Now let me tell you a little bit about its story. It's about a dad, Dick Van Dyke, his son, his daughter, and their grandpa. They're living out in the middle of England nowhere, I think. And through a crazy chain of events, So Chitty Chitty Bang Bang is about Dick Van Dyke, his son, his daughter, who are roughly the same age. And they're Dick Van Dyke's dad in the movie, and they live out in the middle of nowhere, England, and Dick Van Dyke is actually a inventor, and he is inventing things, and like most invention movies, you know, his inventions haven't really broken out yet, but you know, they will. So he keeps pushing for these inventions to go, and along the way he ends up picking up this old and rusty car. He buys it for his children because the store that used to own it was going to sell it, and he's like, I'll buy it instead, and then he ends up fixing it up. We'll get there. But they end up running into, the children end up running into this lady named Truly, and they keep bumping into her throughout the story, and they, you know, grow this bond. And so once the dad, Dick Van Dyke, fixes up the car, he takes the 2 children and Truly, and they go out to have a picnic on the beach. And as they're driving along, the car, you know, it's like back in the times where you had a crank on, this is going, I'm not going to do it, I'm going to butcher it, but pretty much it's making a chitty chitty bang bang sound. It's like chitty chitty bang bang. I know, I'm good. But so they name it Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. They have a great song about Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and they have this picnic, and as they're having a picnic, you know, more songs, and the children are like, Dad, why don't you tell us a story? And so he starts telling them a story about how these bad guys are trying to steal Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang actually can fly and drive and float in the ocean and do all this great stuff. So he starts explaining this great story, how they want Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. This king does, far, far away, wants Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. So they're trying to steal it, and also they try and kidnap the inventor to build them their own. And so they do that, they accidentally steal the grandpa in the outhouse. They crane him up and fly him away. And they fly him to this, you know, the kingdom, and it's a great story. Got, you know, all the children are missing. They in this town where the king is. The scary children hunter comes out and chases them. From my description, it probably, you know, sounds just like an ant movie, but don't listen to me. I'm a bad storyteller. Go watch the dang movie. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. It's a fantastic movie, fantastic songs, awesome, awesome story. It's one of those classics that, you know, your parents watch on the TV all the time. At least mine did, that's how I found out about it. But 10 out of 10. They actually made a musical about it a couple years ago. The Sherman Brothers did the music for that one too, obviously. But it's a really, really good story. You know, really pulls on them heartstrings. Love story. It's great. Go watch it. So that's the 4.5-ish movies, Disney movies I'm suggesting you guys. So get excited. Go watch these great movies. You know, later tonight, this week, during Thanksgiving, go watch Moana with your family. I don't know. That's what I'm going to be doing. Go Disney. Enjoy yourself. See you next time. Who owns a lighthouse, and she's waiting for her husband to come home, so there's this great story with her, and
Was it her husband or was it her dad?
her husband's missing.
Oh, her husband's missing. I just heard husband.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about the dad.
No,
who saw
I'm
the
terrible
dragon.
though. I got like
The dragon. He swear he saw a dragon.
Yeah.
Keep that in.